Ms. Martin, tell us a little bit about yourself and describe your personal involvement within the community and the schools in the past 5 years.
Okay, my name is Pam Marton. I'm a warrior, graduated in 1973. I'm married to my husband Dale for 32 years. We had 5 children, Lindsay, Courtney, Ashley, Amy. Finally got our boy, Tyler. They were also all warriors. I have had many career paths having all those children. I kind of dodged and weaved throughout my career. I've been in accounting. I've been in the legal field. I've been an assistant to the president of Mercy Health System, Western Ohio for a few years. Then Tyler was born, I kind of retired again. I've been working for a CPA firm for the past 16 years, Berger and Associates, and that's where I'm currently employed. I served on the Northwestern School Board in the past from 2004 to 2007. During my tenure on the board, my daughter Amy was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and in my last year on the board, she passed away. So I decided it was no good to anyone, so I did not want to run for another term. I retired. Since that time, I've kind of dusted off myself and decided to get going again. I love this community. People have stood by me and my family in ways I can't even begin to explain. I would like to give back to the community, and I feel like I can be an asset since I have some experience, and a lot has changed since my tenure on the board, but I think I can still bring some things to the table, and I can still learn some new tricks. That's about it for me.
What are your motivations in seeking a position on Northwestern School Board?
Well, I think I kind of explained that a little bit already. I'm very motivated to give back to this community. My husband Dale and I started a scholarship in Amy's name at the high school that I think it's been 4 years now, and we're continuing to grow that. We actually gave 2 scholarships this past year. I just felt the pull to do something, and I'm kind of busy to volunteer a lot in the school. I've thought about that in the past, and I'm reading with the children and things like that, but for whatever reason, I just had a pull to come back to the board, and I feel like that's my commitment.
What do you think the #1 issue is facing Northwestern School District?
It's hard for me to say the #1 issue because I haven't been on the board, and I have heard things from the community. In my opinion, I think obviously fiscal responsibility has to be top priority for any board. I think we've done very well in that in the past. Our community has given everything we've asked of them and more. These are beautiful buildings that I never thought I would see in my lifetime. They're just fabulous. I mean, I also think that communication is very important, and morale. I don't specifically know of issues with that, but I'm very big on keeping people happy, keeping the teachers that we have that are so good, and trying to get them to stay. And so I think that would be a priority for me also, is more of the personal issues as well as the fiscal issues.
Okay. This question comes from the community. In words you believe we might understand, explain to us how the school systems are funded.
Oh my goodness. Well, they're funded very crazily, in my opinion. They're not funded fairly. I believe that the tax burden on the landowner, the tax burden through ways that we have to come up with money, like income taxes and so forth, I believe there needs to be a complete overhaul of the funding for school districts. I don't think it's fair. And of course, as a school board member, there's only so much you can do. I think we need to try to push with your elected officials to make changes to the way that things are funded.
Fiscal concerns are always an issue with school districts. With that said, if money was in short supply and it was necessary to make a substantial cut in expenditures of the district, what areas would you cut What areas would you seek to preserve?
Well, I think obviously education has to be the most important core thing in any school. I mean, you've got a lot of children who are asking you to educate them, and so I would tend to make less cuts in those areas. I also think, just from my own personal opinion, because my children were all athletes and into extracurriculars, that's a tough one. Although if changes have to be made and cuts have to be made, I guess that's where you would pretty much have to start. I think we've done a lot already in this district, even as with the thermal heating system, to try to cut costs so we don't have to look down that road. But I think the core of it is your children are here to be educated, and you know, I hope we don't have to walk down those roads.
This question comes from the community as well. Can you name 3 things in your life that you are committed to?
I'm committed to my family wholeheartedly. I forgot to mention I have 2 grandchildren and hoping for many more. I'm also committed to this community. My husband and I are getting up there where we're thinking about retiring, and I really don't think I want to retire anywhere but here. This kind of feels like home. I guess, I mean, I'm also committed to the, you know, everything that has to do with the community, which is the school district and, you know, helping people. I would love to volunteer in other areas, you know, like at hospitals and things also. I'm just kind of looking for places to give right now.
Many states are passing legislation to enact right-to-work laws, which changes the role unions play in many workplaces. What is your opinion on right-to-work?
To be honest, I'm not sure of my opinion on right to work. My husband's in a union. I think unions have a very strong place still. I mean, I know people don't think they do. They think that, you know, well, things are much better than when the unions were enacted, and, you know, there's not a place for them. And I'm here to tell you, in my own home and in my life, there is a place for it. So I guess I feel like unions are an important part of you know, the country.
A board member has many responsibilities, one of which is to lobby for education. If elected, how will you lobby for education both at a local level and a state level?
Well, I think on a local level, you're kind of limited what you can do for, I mean, there's only so much you can do. You have to follow through with the laws as they're handed down to you from the state and local, you know, governments. I think as a board member, you can work your way up to the state board, you know, go to the meetings, go to the committees, you know, work through, they all have lobby groups, you know, contact them, give them your opinion. They're always asking board members for their opinion, and there's always a place for you to give your input. And I think that behooves every board member to do that. You know, I would continue to give input to the state board, school board, so that they can contact the legislation.
This question comes from the community. How do you feel about the extra 30 minutes added to the school day?
Well, again, speaking as a layperson and as a parent, I'm not in favor of the 30 minutes. Now, having said that, I'm not on the board. I don't know what the reason was other than what I've heard, that, you know, we had a shorter school day than most other districts, and it's obviously for an educational achievement standpoint. My thoughts on it are that I know that the elementary has implemented the 30 minutes into their school day, and from what I understand, the 7 through 12 have added an extra period or whatever to the end of the day called Pride, where the students can do study and go talk to the counselors and that sort of thing. From my standpoint as a parent, my children were involved in extracurriculars and athletics. the day was long enough for them. Even though it's 30 minutes, I think the offset of 30 minutes of education isn't enough to offset the kids getting home late, trying to feed them, get them where they need to go. I think the benefit of the 30 minutes is not there for the school as much as the benefit for the 30 minutes is there for the family.
Describe a decision made by the board in the recent past that you think should have gone differently.
That's a good one. I can think of one that I wish had gone differently, but I'm not sure of the reasoning behind it. So I want to preface it that way. I felt like Mark Greenberg was an asset to the school. I felt we needed his position. I personally had contact with him when I had custody of a relative's child that needed help. And so I got the benefit of his expertise personally. So I had a little bit of a tug there. Like I said, I was not on the board. I'm not sure of all the behind information that people don't know and can never know because it's a personnel issue and it's private. I'm just saying from my standpoint, I hated to see that happen.
Discuss how valuable you believe student performance on standardized tests is a mean of determining teachers' competence.
Well, I'm not a big fan of standardized testing. I'm just going to put it out there. I think all kids test differently. You could teach children the exact same thing, the exact same way, and you put them at the desk and they're going to do two different things. And that's not a reflection on the teacher always, it's a reflection on students and their personalities and the way they think. There's only so much a teacher can do. And I think if you trust your teachers, if you hire good teachers, if you listen to your children when they come home and you help them with their homework, you kind of know if you have a good teacher base or not. And I'm not sure that standardized testing is telling anyone anything. I think it's just something somebody came up with to say, you know, we're better than you and you're not as good as them and let's change everything around. And I mean, so I'm not a big fan.
This is the final question. The question comes from the community prior to your wrap-up statement. The question is, I am not always sure my voice is being heard. How can you ensure me you will listen and respond?
Well, I think anybody that knows me knows I'm going to listen. I'll respond if I'm on the board the best I can. It's not always a popularity contest, let me tell you. I was on the board before and I took a lot of lumps for a lot of things that I didn't feel I should be taking lumps for, that you just have to. It's part of your job. It's part of what people get you there for. You can't make everyone happy. You shouldn't make everyone happy. You can only do the best that you can do. As far as listening to people, I mean, I personally feel very open. Somebody can approach me at any time about anything. They can call me at any time. I'm on Facebook. I'm on, I mean, please, is how I feel about it. Because if you don't know, you don't know. And I'm somebody that wants to be informed. Like I said, I'm not going to micromanage. I'm not going to answer all your questions. I'll listen to your question, and then I'll pass it on and try to get an answer. I think that's what my job is. That's what my duty is. And I love it when people come to board meetings. I don't cringe. I love to hear you stand up and say what's on your mind. Like I said, you're not always going to be happy with what happens. But at least, in my opinion, you're going to be heard.
Thank you, Jesus.
Okay, you have about 5 minutes remaining in your time. This is your time. You can just feel free to have a closing remark or statement.
Well, the only thing I want to say is that I think what I bring to the table is that I have the ability to think through situations. I don't have knee-jerk reactions. I don't get hysterical. I've had 5 kids. Trust me, I don't get hysterical. I can put myself on all sides of the situation. I'm not a yes man, but I'm not a rabble-rouser. I'm not just going to get in there and cause problems just to be causing problems. But I believe in a win-win strategy. And I think whenever possible, that's what you should strive for. It shouldn't be an all or nothing. Everyone should feel a little bit good about things. And I think that 2 heads are always better than 1. The more input you get, the better output you're going to get. So that's just kind of my philosophy. I hope I haven't shocked anyone too bad with my opinions. I am opinionated. And I would appreciate your support on Tuesday.